Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be teaching you the Russian alphabet. We're gonna learn the Russian alphabet. So first 5 letters are exactly the same in Russian as they are in English, and those letters are A, K, M, O, and T. Akmot. You can just remember that. All these letters look and sound pretty much exactly the same in Russian as in English. Moving on, there are 6 letters that look like English letters, but they sound completely different. So that's the C, the P, the X, the H, the B, and the Y, which all are different in Russian. Moving on, it's the first letter that we're going to go over is the C, which sounds like the S in C, like the S sound. Looks like the English letter C, but sounds like the English S. Next one is what looks like a P. It's pronounced like an R, as in run. It looks like as the English letter P, but sounds like the English letter R. Next we have the X, which doesn't make the X sound at all. It's pronounced like the H in hello, or the Mexican X in Mexico. It looks the same as the English letter X, but sounds like the English H. Moving on, we have what looks like an H, but is actually an N. So this one, whenever you see an H and it's Russian, it's actually an N sound, as in the word no. Next we have the letter B. This isn't the letter B, it's the letter V in Russian, so it makes the V sound, as in vet. Moving on, we have the last one, which is the Y, which makes the oo sound, as in the word boot. Looks like the English letter Y, but it sounds like the English U. Moving on, letters that sound the same as English letters, but look totally different. So these have different symbols, but they make similar sounds to sounds that already exist in the English alphabet. We've got this one here, this funky looking letter. If I just go back here, first one on the top here, it's a B. It looks a bit like a regular B, except it's got a little line that goes over the top here. Next one is the D. So the capital is the one that I pretty much use all the time. I pretty much never use the lowercase one, but you will see it if you're reading Russian writing occasionally. And it looks sort of like a C, not a C bracket, like one of those square brackets that's been tilted upside down with a line going up and then across and then down. Funky looking letter. Next one looks like the number 3, but it's actually the Z sound, as in zoo. Next we have an upside down inverted L, which is the G sound. It's just it's like a line with a line sticking out to the right. Next we have the P sound, which just looks the same as the Greek pi symbol, the Greek capital pi, or it looks like maybe part 2. You see like a movie part 2, the 2 ones next to each other with a line on the top, except with a line on top. Yeah. Next we have the F letter, which is just a circle with a line through it. Looks a bit like a 0 with a 1 going through it, like a quantum state particle or whatever. Next we have the L sound, which looks like this. I don't know, I'm going to stop explaining what it looks like. This is the L. Next there's the E sound, as in the I sound as in illusion, the sound. And this one is like a backwards weird looking N, weird looking capital N. Moving on, now we have letters that don't look like or sound like any English letters. So we've got, I believe, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them here. First one is Ya, which is a backwards R. It's a backwards capital R, and it makes the YA sound, Ya, as in yard. The next one is the Y sound, as in the word boy, the Y in the word boy. Yeah. And then next we have what looks like a backwards euro sign. It's sort of like a backwards C with a line in the middle. You can't see it too well here. but that's just the regular E as an edit, the E as an edit. Next we have the U sound, which looks a bit like a little fishy swimming to the right here, and it makes the YU sound, so U, like as in the whole word U. Next we have a regular looking E, but with 2 dots above it, and this sounds like yo, as in YO, as in yonder, yo, yo, yo. Next we have a weird looking one, which makes a sound that doesn't really exist at all in English. It's sort of in between a couple of letters. It sounds like ui, ui, ui. So it's a bit of a weird one. Next we have the sh sound, which sounds a bit like pronouncing SHCH, sh, and then ch, and you say them together and it makes the sh sound. Then we're moving on. There's also 2 more here that aren't really included that are very similar to the sh and the yo. So if you see a regular looking E, it's pronounced yeah, yeah, as in Y-E. And if you see one of these little sh looking things but without the little tail, it's just a regular SH sh sound. Moving on, what are diphthongs? Diphthongs are combinations of different letters that form a new sound. We've got 4 examples here. So the first one is the letter ch, which looks like this. It looks a bit like the number 4, and it's like the CH in English, the ch sound, as in chain or chapel. Next we have a weird looking one, which is probably my favorite letter in the Russian alphabet, just because of how cool it looks. It's the zh sound. So, for example, in the word pleasure, as you say pleasure, the zh sound from pleasure, this is what they've got a letter for that sound. And it's written, in English, it's written sort of like ZH. So if you see ZH trying to spell out a Russian word, it usually means the zh sound, as in pleasure. Next we have one that we've already briefly gone over, which is just, it looks like a W, but it's very square, and it just makes the sh sound, as in shut. Moving on, we've got the ts sound, which is like T and then S together. So t, s, put them together, ts. And it looks like this. And moving on. Extra letters that don't make any sound on their own whatsoever. We have the tvrdy znak and the myaky znak. So the tvrdy znak, which just means hard sign, indicates a pause between 2 syllables, and the myaky znak, the soft sign, makes the previous letter sound softer. Next we have letters that don't exist in Russian at all, but do exist in English. So you're not going to find anything like j, qu, w, x, or the y in English. If there is a name like Jenny that would normally be spelt with a J, you'll see the letter D, the Russian letter D, and then the Russian letter zh, which will make the dzh, which is like the closest thing they have to j. And then the qu, there's no real equivalent for that, or for the w. Moving on, what's the difference between hard and soft sounding letters? So here's a table here, we've got here, of the difference between hard and soft letters. So when I say these 2 letters here on the top, the very top here, the first one's hard. So for example, in the word apteka, which means pharmacy, the a is sort of like an a sound, and when it's soft, that's the hard sound. So the a is hard, and this letter here, the backwards R, which makes the ya sound. So ya. So the soft sound, the soft A would be ah, and the hard A would be ah, or a. And then the same for all these letters here. Moving on, some basic things to know about the Russian alphabet. There are 33 letters in the Russian alphabet, 10 vowels, which is 5 more than in English, And there are 21 consonants, which is the exact same amount of consonants as there are in the English alphabet. The Russian alphabet has another much cooler sounding name. It's known as the Cyrillic alphabet. So what do all the Russian letters look like in typed or printed form? Here's a little table here. You can pause the video if you want to learn how to write all these. There's also some handy little letters underneath the Russian letters that sort of tell you. I don't know if you can see it that clear. If you can't see it, just look up Russian alphabet on the internet. I'm sure you'll find an image which will give you sufficient imagery. Moving on, what does the Russian cursive alphabet look like? So this is the Russian cursive alphabet. Looks quite a bit different in some cases than the printed Russian alphabet. For example, the T here, this is a crazy looking letter. It's an M when it's lowercase, and it's like a pi with an extra tail when it's a capital, which is a tiny bit confusing. Most of the other letters are quite similar to the printed form though. Moving on, what does Russian handwriting look like? So I've got a little sample here of some Russian handwriting. This is what you can expect to see. This is very neat Russian handwriting. It could look a lot messier than this, and it might look like a bit of a nightmare at first, but it is indeed possible to decipher the contents of this message. Moving on, how many different languages use the Russian alphabet? So over 50 different languages use alphabets very similar to the Russian alphabet, or very similar to the Cyrillic alphabet, including Kazakh and Belarusian and other languages like Ukrainian. A lot of the other alphabets of the other languages add the odd letter or take away the odd letter. Usually they just add the odd letter. But yeah, so just a fun fact. Moving on. When would I ever need the Russian alphabet? One, if you plan on traveling to or living in a Russian-speaking country, so you can read signs and stuff like that. Two, if you want to write something in secret that people who can't read Russian won't be able to read. And three, to show off that you can read Russian. That would be another good reason. Is it hard to learn to write in Russian? No, you can learn to write the Russian alphabet in only a couple of hours. It might take a little bit longer for you to really memorize all the letters, but you can really pretty much learn how to write the Russian alphabet in only a couple of hours. Cursive might take a bit longer. Hopefully now you know a little bit more about the Russian alphabet. Possibly you might have even learnt how to read and write in Russian from watching this. Hopefully. Anyway, thank you for watching, and have an excellent day or night, depending on when you're watching this. And I'll see you later. Goodbye. Hello everyone, всем привет и добро пожаловать на мой канал. And today we will be learning our first 5 words in Russian, our first 5 Russian words, that main words that you're really going to need to know, very important, used a lot. First one, da. Da. Most people probably already know that da is yes in Russian. It's also yes in Romanian and probably a few other languages of the Slavic variety as well. And it means yes, just means yes. Word 2, niet, niet. It looks a bit like het, but it's niet. The E is pronounced as a Y-E, so yeah instead of e. So niet means no, niet. Next word we have, this is probably the longest one we're going to be learning today. Word number 3 is пожалуйста, пожалуйста. And it means please, So пожалуйста, or пожалуйста. If you sound this out in Cyrillic letters, it looks a bit like пожалуйста, but it's not pronounced like that. It's one of the few words that isn't pronounced exactly as it's written. Most Russian words, you can pretty much guess exactly how it's said by how it's spelt. But in the case of пожалуйста, the uy sound gets dropped here, so you just say пожалуйста, пожалуйста. Word number 4, very important one, thank you. Спасибо, спасибо. So this one is exactly the same as it's written in Cyrillic, just спасибо, спасибо. There's a little bit of difference here. There's sort of like an E sound after the A, so it's like a спасибо, спасибо, спасибо. But you can just say спасибо without the E here. And it means thank you. And last word for today, probably the most common word ever is the shortened form of здравствуйте, which is just привет. Привет means hi. Just a friendly hello. Hello there. Hi. Привет. Привет. And that concludes today's lesson. You should have learnt now 5 new Russian words that you can go ahead and use. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and today we are going to be learning 5 more words in Russian. So, first word, there's going to be sort of just household items, specifically more related to the kitchen, words that we're going to be learning. First word is stol. Stol. Sounds a bit similar to stole in English. As in, I stole something. You could remember it by saying, I stole a stole. I stole a table. I don't know, you could figure some way to memorize this, but stol is table. Moving on, we have word number 2, тарелка. Тарелка. Тарелка is plate, means plate. Тарелка is a plate. Next we have the word for cup, which is чашка. This is a quite nice sounding word, чашка, sort of relaxing, чашка. Next we have the word for glass, very similar to чашка in form, but not in written form, or in how it's said. Стакан. Стакан means a glass. So, стакан вода would mean a glass of water. Next we have the word for fork, which is вилка. Вилка. Which just means fork. Don't ask me why вилка means fork in Russian. I do not know, but вилка means fork. That's it. That's 5 new words that you just learned in Russian. Hopefully you can remember them all. If not, here's a quick refresher in reverse order of all the words that we just went over. And thank you for watching, and have a nice day. I will see you later. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and today we're going to be learning Russian question words. Всем привет и добро пожаловать на мой канал. And we will be learning Russian question words. So Russian question words include like who, what, when, where, why, how, those sort of question words. Words you can use to get information out of other people, learn what's going on. So first word is who, which is just кто, K-T-O, кто. It means who. Example in a sentence would be кто ты видишь? Who do you see? Who do you see? Or кто вы? Who are you? Who are you? What are you doing in my house? Next one we have is what. This one is a little bit different in the way it's pronounced as to how it's spelt. It starts with the ch sound, the ch, but obviously it's not ch-to, it's shto, just shto. So the ch changes into a sh sound. So shto means what? Example would be что ты видишь? What do you see? Or что вы видите? What do you see? More formal. Third word, when. This one is когда. And this one means when. So, for example, когда ты видишь он? When did you see him? Or когда вы видите она? When did you see her? Moving on, we have the word for where, which is a lot shorter in Russian, just где. In English it's sort of spelt out in 4 letters because, as we now know, the E makes the ye sound as opposed to just an e sound, so it's not где or gdi, it's где. So, for example, где туалет? Ты знаешь, где туалет? Would be, do you know where the toilet is? Moving on, we have number 5, why. Now there's actually 2 ways to say this. This one is more when you want an answer, and there's another one that you use sort of when you're saying, oh, why me, sort of type thing. So this one is почему. So, почему ты здесь? Why are you here? Or почему это яблоко на стол? Why is the apple on the table? And the other one that is not here is зачем. So зачем is like, oh, why me? Зачем, why? And then почему is like, why did you do this? Почему ты делаешь это? Why did you do this? Moving on, we have the last one in this particular list, which is how, which is just kak. Kak. It's pretty much the same in Russian as it is in English. The Russian just has a slightly curvier looking K. Kak, for example, как ты делаешь? How are you doing? Or как дела? How are you? Как ты? How are you? There's another way of saying how are you. Как дела is more like how are things, and как ты is, or как вы is sort of how are you in specific. That's pretty much everything. Thanks for watching. I will just go over one last couple of things. So bonus words that are not written on the screen would be, for example, how you would answer zачем. So word for because is bonus word. Because is потому что. So it's потому and then что, which means what. So потому что means because. That's how you can answer something. If you were to answer the word, if we go back here, where are we? What? We could answer this with это. So, for example, что это? What is this? Это, and then you would say what it is. Another one would be где. So to respond to где, you would say, I don't know, here or there. You could say here is здесь, and there is tam. So there's some bonus words, three or four extra bonus words on top of the regular stuff we just went over here. Anyway, that concludes this lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day or night. Poka poka, which means bye-bye. Hello everyone, and today we're going to be learning Russian numbers. So let's begin. There are two main types of numbers. There are cardinal numbers, and there are also ordinal numbers. Cardinal numbers are numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Ordinal numbers would be numbers like first, second, third, etc. So what we're going to be learning in today's tutorial is the cardinal numbers. So we're going to be learning the cardinal numbers 1 to 10 in Russian. So first one is один. Один is 1. There's also two other forms depending on which gender you're using. So одна, I think, is one feminine gender. Один is masculine gender. And одно is neuter gender as well. Moving on, we've got 2. There is два. I think this has a few forms as well. Два and dve. But mostly you're just going to see два. Next we have три, which is 3. After that is четыре, which is 4. And 5 is пять. Sounds a bit like a swear word. Пять. 5 is пять. 6 is шесть. 7 is семь. 8 is very close to семь. Восемь is 8. 9 is девять. And very similar to 9 is 10. Десять. The only thing that changes is the V to a C. So девять is 9 and десять is 10. Some bonus words. First, the word for number is число. And the plural of that is числа. With an A instead of an O. More bonus words. I've got two more little words to learn. Считать is to count. Считать, so very similar to читать, which is to read. You just add an S at the beginning and it becomes считать, which means to count. And you would conjugate this as я считаю, which means you change the end of the word if you're talking in first person. So saying I count would change the word from считать to считаю. But we won't go too in depth on conjugation of endings, word endings and stuff like that in this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. Pretty short tutorial. And have a nice day. Hello everyone, and today we're going to be learning the Russian days of the week. The days of week in Russian. The days of the week in Russian. So first day is понедельник. This is a bit of a long, scary word. So we can just break it down into these 4 different main syllables here. So pa, so it looks like po here with the O, but it sort of pronounced as an A. So pa, nie, Понедельник. All together, or we can just do it in bits first. Понедельник. And then together, понедельник. And that means Monday. Next we have Tuesday, which is a little shorter. Вторник. Вторник. You could arguably just say that the втор is sort of one syllable here, but I've broken it into three here. So вторник. Вторник. The V can sort of sound a bit like an F, so вторник will be understood just as well. Next we have Wednesday, which is среда. Среда. It's the middle of the week, so it is called среда. Среда. Next we have Thursday, which is четверг. Четверг. A bit of a weird one to say. You can just break it down into ch, yet, vierg. Четверг. Четверг. Thursday. Next we have Friday, which is пятница, and it's the fifth day of the week. So we call пятница, which is really just the number 5 followed by ница. So пятница, пят meaning 5, and I don't know what ница means, but пятница is Friday. Next we have Saturday, which is суббота. Суббота. Similar in that they both start with an S in English and in Russian. Суббота. Next we have another long one, Sunday. Воскресенье. Воскресенье. And this means Sunday. I've got a bonus word as well. The word for day is день. День means day. For example, добрый день means good day. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye. Poka poka. Hello everyone, and today we are going to be learning how to say how are you in Russian. So how are you, or more literally, how are things, is как дела. Как дела, as when you want to ask someone how are things. Next we have a more informal way of saying this, which is как тебя. Как тебя, which just means how are you. This is more specifically asking someone how they are as opposed to how things are. We have other ways of saying how are you. First one is как вы. Как вы is used when you're speaking to someone who is of higher standing than you, or that you don't know very well, or that you've just met, and you want to use a more respectful way of saying how are you. Как ты is more of an informal way of just saying how are you. How are you? You'd use it with like a friend or a family member. Moving on, phrases similar to how are you. First one, what's up? Что ты делаешь? Что ты делаешь? Which literally just means what you doing. What you doing? What's up? Next we have what are you up to? Что ты задумал? Что ты задумал? Which just means, literally it just translates again to what you doing. Next, how do you feel? This is a bit of a longer word. Чувствует. Чувствуете. This word changes depending on whether you use вы or ты. So вы here is more formal. You can use ты, in which case чувствуете would change to чувствуешь. So altogether, как вы себя чувствуете, which means how do you feel. Next we have how is life. This one is a lot easier. Just как жизнь. Как жизнь. Как жизнь. How's life? Next we have another one. How's work? Как работа. Как работа. How is work? Next we have how do I respond to how are you in Russian. So if someone asks you как дела, or как тебя, как вы, как ты, как работа, how do you respond? So here's some things that you can say to respond to how are you. Not bad, thanks. Спасибо, неплохо. Спасибо, неплохо. Means not bad, thanks. Next we have good, thank you. Хорошо, спасибо. Хорошо, спасибо. Which just means good, thank you, or okay, thank you. or even well, thank you. Next we have, I am doing bad. This is what you would say if things aren't going so well. Я делаю плохо. Я делаю плохо. Which literally translates to I doing bad. Which sounds a little different when you translate it directly. But it just means I'm doing bad. Yeah, that's about everything. That's some basic ways you can respond to how are you and how to say how are you. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye. How to say hello in Russian. Здравствуйте. Hello in Russian is здравствуйте. This is the long, more formal greeting that you would use when you first meet someone, for example. I've got the little text down here. So здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. That's hello, the long form. There's also a shorter way to say hello, which is more equivalent to hi, and that is привет. Привет. This is a lot less informal. You can use this when you're just greeting someone you know, or a friend, family member, anything like that. It's a lot shorter greeting. People will still get the gist when you just use привет. How to say hello in the morning. So the equivalent of like good morning is доброе утро. Доброе утро. Доброе утро. Is good morning. How to say hello during the day. Equivalent of good day is добрый день. Добрый день. Moving on, we have how to say hello in the evening, or the equivalent of good evening. Добрый вечер. Добрый вечер. When should I use здравствуйте and when should I use привет? Здравствуйте is used when you are meeting someone for the first time. Здравствуйте is quite formal way of greeting someone. Привет is a lot more casual way to greet someone. You would use привет when greeting someone you already know. How to say goodbye in Russian. Goodbye is до свидания. До свидания. Свидания. До свидания. A shorter way to say goodbye, which is sort of equivalent to bye-bye, would be пока-пока. Пока-пока. You can also just say пока, just one пока, or two поkas. And that just means bye-bye. When should I use пока-пока and when should I use до свидания? Пока-пока is a lot less formal and a lot friendlier way of saying goodbye. До свидания is a lot more cold and is a more formal goodbye. It's sort of like a more long-term, like goodbye, I might not see you again. Пока-пока or just пока is much friendlier way of saying goodbye. Bonus phrase. How to say good night in Russian. Спокойной ночи. Спокойной ночи. And that is good night in Russian. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and today we're going to be learning how to pronounce the Russian sh sound. So it looks a bit like a W. It's not a W, I assure you, and it's got a little tail on the end of it. There's two characters, one looks like this and one doesn't have the tail. So the letter sh looks very similar to the letter sh, or just sh, but is different. The letters sh and sh are not the letter W, as I said before. There is no W sound in the Russian language. There is no w. Closest thing you'd probably get is ooey, ooh, maybe. Not not the same anyway. The sh sound is pronounced as sh. So sh and ch together, sh. Sort of like a sh sound. The letter sh is just pronounced as the diphthong sh. So sh, just sh. Examples of the sh and the sh, or the sh and the sh in words. We have first example, borscht, which means soup. I think beetroot soup. Next example we have is of just the regular sh sound. And this one is chocolade, which sounds very similar to the English chocolate, and that's exactly what it means. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've learned something new, and have a nice day. Goodbye.